Field of play retirements. Tom Brady versus Leisel Jones. Today is Tuesday, 7 October 2025, and here I, Tanis, she, her, hers of Seattle, ruminate about who had the better field of play retirement. Tom Brady, he, him, his, in American football versus Leisel Jones, she, her, hers, in international swimming. For him, Tom Brady, I missed his career. Do I expect him to return to the field of play? No. He has so many stories to tell me already. Tom Brady telling me his stories is how I learned the sport of American football. Yes. So that's the career part. So there's build up, and I was like, he was the guy where there were a bunch of guys who were like, let's go back to, like, let's say the 2010s decade, where I don't know American football, and I'm she, her, hers of Seattle, so I'm like, go Seahawks. And that's, kind of about the extent of, like, my engagement in the sport. There was an uptick towards the end of last decade. However, the individual players thing, Tom Brady was one I was like, I would look at the news, and some of the names of the people, I was just like, well, you, sir, get props for I can remember your name, or, like, it registers in my brain as actually being the name of a human being. Okay. Because some of the names were just, I was just like, that's, I'm not going to be able to tie that to a sport. And so with Tom Brady, he had a unique career in that I could remember him as an American football player. And I don't think I actually ever lost sight of that. For his retirement, so there was I previously covered, he got 7 titles, as in, like, Super Bowl ones, but he changed teams towards the end of his career, and he didn't go out on a Super Bowl win, if I'm recalling correctly. It wasn't like he won something and there was a bunch of wins and he's like, I'm going out on a high note. He went out on a Leisel Jones note. And so this is why I paired them. And so he let his heart show. These both have heart retirements. And in the sense of by not ending on a highest point in their career kind of thing, which I competed in swimming for over a decade, not international swimming, there's the local, summer league team. However, there's swimming, it's easier to measure if a person goes out on a world record or not, like a fastest time. So in American football, it's a little bit more difficult to tell, but he ended with his heart, like, on the line, so to speak, by sticking with it and not having it be on a high note. It kind of let it showcase that he really enjoys the sport. And he went on and does stuff like that, I don't know, newscaster, commenter at a desk, not like my setup, like a formal studio for a television network or something. So he stuck with the sport in that sense. All right, so that's 1. 2, the one that came before, Leisel Jones. I brought up Ken Miles as my hero yesterday. Leisel Jones is another one of my heroes. She was a breaststroker. I was a breaststroker. This is swimming, okay? My breaststroke was faster than my freestyle. That's how much of a freak I was. And Leisel Jones was the Australian beauty that was the reason I watched her at the Olympic Games, and I had not ever watched a world championships in swimming, and Leisel Jones was the reason why I watched world championships in swimming, even if it was only just her race, because she was a breaststroker and I was a breaststroker. But that's how much I loved her. I was like, fine, swimming exists outside of the Olympic Games. This is that woman for me. And so hers is the only retirement in swimming I remember at the time. For me, there was she did retire, but I remember watching her at the 2012 Summer Olympic Games. And I remember watching her and being like, are you going to retire? Don't leave. Please don't leave. And swimming has this, like, you have to end on a high note, or, like, if it's a really sour note, you have to end. And I just remember being like, she's my hero, and I'm watching, and I'm just like, please don't leave. And she left, and I feel like the guy from the Goonies, and she cried. But she stuck with it. It was the same as Tom Brady in the sense of, like, it wasn't necessarily like her best all time. She didn't set a world record at the Olympic Games, the 2012 Summer Olympic Games, in the 100 breaststroke or 200 breaststroke. But she was who I was watching at that Olympic Games. I was like, if there's only one person, it is her. Right. Then she retired, and she went on to do business stuff, which is very cool for like a lot of sports people to kind of like do a sports thing. And she actually like did I'm gonna try something different. So there's a lot of respect. So I'd say these two individuals are tied for me for the Hart retirement. Tom Brady perhaps went the very structurally tunneled path of staying with the sport, and Leisel Jones was like, I'm gonna be a little dendrite and I'm gonna grow in a different direction, which is like, oh, my childhood hero. Okay, so I can't on either of these be like they're lesser, especially for this pairing. I was coming up, what's a real pairing? I was like, man equals woman in this one. That's how I feel. So field of play retirements, Tom Brady versus Leisel Jones. They're a little different, but they're the same heartfelt type, and it's a tie for me.